In this tutorial, we're going to be covering how to export our graphics from Photoshop into our Unity game engine. So here we have our Photoshop file that is a 1080p canvas. And what we've done is we've put our graphics into smart objects so that we can export them out and be the right size. So currently, let's say I wanted to export out the play button. Right now, this play button is going to end up exporting out the giant 1080p transparency, right? And we don't want that transparency. So what we want to do is be able to, because right now if I save this out as an image, right, we're going to have the text and this big image. So what we want to do, we don't want to export this whole massive canvas out. So I've already done this previously, but just to go over that again, to create a smart object for our layer, we simply select our layers. So if you have multiple layers, let's say, just for fun, let's just say we got these cool little rectangles, whatever, we want to have this detail as well. So what I would do is I would select both layers, and we could do that by either control clicking or by shift clicking. And then we can right click and do convert to smart object, which is basically going to put it, it's almost like having a project inside a project. So this smart object now here, you can see now it's one layer, and I've got both of these on one layer. And so I'm going to do the play button now to show you what this looks like and exporting it out. So I'm going to double click the layer thumbnail, not the text, not the empty space, not the eyeball, but the layer thumbnail. And here it opens up our project. If I get out of my full screen mode, you can see we have this particular project here is 1080p, and then this file that it created, a PSB. This one is much smaller. It's 490 by 150 approximately, so much smaller, and you can see it fits our graphic, which is what we want because we're going to have this as a button in our game. So we have this specific one has 3 separate layers in that we want to export out. This is the play default, this is the play highlighted button, and the play clicked when we click it. So we want to export out all 3 layers, in this case all at the same time. But there will be a case when I got an example here for our retry button, where if I open up this one I don't want to export out each layer separately, right? I want to export these out in a certain way together. So to do that, I'm going to turn on just the layers that I want to export. So this process takes longer when you have a lot of custom stuff. So I have retry, I got this special shape. So what I'm going to do is just have them on the way they are, and then I'm just going to go File, Export, and then I'm going to do Quick Export as a PNG. The PNG is going to save the transparency. So here I might have this as retry default, and I would save it. Now what I would probably prefer to do is actually save it to where my actual game is. So in this case, it's called UFO 2D project. If I can find it here. UFO 2D game. Here we go. So what I can do is find my game, go into the assets folder, and then the sprites folder. And here you'll see some of your other sprites if they're PNGs, and other ones if they're other images, they may not show up, but that's just for viewing purposes. They're there. But anyway, we want to save the same graphic there, so we can save it, and we're good to go. So then the same thing, so if I want to have if I want to have it say, this is the highlighted version. So it looks a little more like this. Maybe it's not the best color set right now matching, but that's okay. Then we would do the same thing, file, and we'd export, quick export. And save it as highlighted. So you can see that's a little bit more time consuming to save out each one for every single button graphic that you're going to have. But that's kind of what we got to do. In this case, when you have multiple layers that you want to save out as one image with transparency. Now, if we go back to our play button, we don't have extra stuff. We literally need to export out each layer as a button. So for this is going to be super simple. So for the play and the quit button, all we're going to have to do, we have the play open, is we go File, Export, and we'll do the layers to files. What this is going to do is export out every single layer, which there's only 3, and it's going to save those as separate images. So here's the kicker on that. First, we need to know where we are saving. Again, we want to go in. This is a random folder for most people, unless if you know what the temp files are, but we definitely don't want to save there. So I'm going to go in, find my project, UFO 2D game, go to my assets, sprites, and just save here. I'll click OK. That's where it's going to save. Now for the prefix, it's going to name this whatever I put here. So if I put P, it's going to put P and then 000 and then the name of the first layer. And then it's going to put P0001 play highlighted. So you see it's going to add in the prefix, the numbers, and then the name of the layer. So then we're going to make sure that the file type is PNG24. And it should by default be saving transparency. Definitely want that. And we're going to go ahead and click Run. And Photoshop will kind of visually glitch here for a minute. Export layer to files was successful. So we can click OK on this pop-up because that was success. And then we can switch over to our Unity project. And it may take a minute to load, and you'll see that it's here. So now we have that. Now we also want to do that as well for our buttons, for the quit, so and any other graphics. So for the UFO icon, if you made your own icon, you want to export out that graphic. If you made out your own title, like I did here, you want to go ahead and export out that graphic. And same thing with the quit. I'm going to come in here to the quit. So you can go ahead and pause the video, make sure you get all of those graphics that you created, whatever the name of your game is and your buttons, if you created any custom layer styles, so you can get all of those exported out. For the name, you don't need to export out this graphic. We can just use text inside of Unity. So I don't need to put in that it was made by me, right? We can do that separately. So we go into our game here, and now we have our graphics showing up. I recommend that you may rename these so that they're actually just named play default or play highlighted, play clicked, or pressed, so on and so forth, so you can get those in here named correctly. And last but not least, if you saved your graphics to, say, your desktop or your My Documents, of course we don't want to leave out, you can just go to your Windows Explorer, or if you're on a Mac, using the appropriate location, you would just want to open up your folder, which we can go to Start menu, then File Explorer, or we could do Windows E, and then open up our desktop. I have this image here maybe I want, and I can just go ahead and drag this into my into the Assets folder. And that's going to put it in whatever folder. So if I accidentally put it in the wrong folder, simple enough, I can just kind of drag it and move it where it needs to go. So we get all of our sprites in the sprites folder. And then we are good to go for the next part.